My name is Ryan and I am the King of Booty Fab. And this week I am back down at Backdoor Fab and we are starting another project. This will be part one of a series. The International is off for sandblast and paint. So we're kind of bouncing between the two here as we get to different stages and different builds. I'll get into this in a minute, but I'll tell you what. If you enjoy what I'm doing, follow the channel, click the notifications bell. If you enjoy the video, click the like button, drop me a comment, give me some feedback, do the whole YouTube thing. Help the algorithms out here, guys. I should have figured them out by now. You know, sometimes I put up a video, it gets a ton of views, sometimes it gets none. You know, I'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one. It is cooking hot in here, so it's a bit of a struggle. The fans are on. We're trying to keep cool. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's early. Let me show you around. So this chassis here came out of a late 90s half-ton Silverado, built pretty much at the peak of mini trucking. So it's got all the standard mini trucking stuff. It's got two control arms, bag on bar setup that went into the stock leaf spring mounts. It's got a bridge notch. It's got a wishbone 3-link. Now, we've already been at this thing some, ground down a bunch of the ugly welds. We cleaned up the front end. It had some big nasties around the stock coil buckets. Bag mount mounted 2/3 of the way up so that you can put an 8-inch stroke bag in and get 24 inches of travel at the axle that you absolutely can't use. This is the tank mount, upper wishbone mount. So with a wishbone 3-link, you don't need a panhard. So this takes all the load. We're going to be looking at this a little bit. We might be looking at these lower links because I'm not a big fan of the bag on bar. Puts a lot of strain up on this bushing up here. And as the bushing starts to get sloppy, the links wants to rotate. It's not my favorite setup by any means. And we've got to redo the link mounts. So the original mounts were U-bolted onto the axle. We had a 10 bolt. We're scrapping that. What we did is we went out and got an 8.8. This is out of an Explorer. Get an 8.8 out of a mid-90s Explorer. They are disc brake 410 posi with a drive flange. This is a great axle. They hold up to a load of horsepower. The only downside is the Silverado is 5-on-5. This one is 5-on-4.5. So we've got some 1.25-inch adapters coming. The benefit is this axle is quite a bit narrower, so we can fit some bigger meats into the wheel wells, which it'll be good for this thing. But we started off yesterday. We tore this frame down a couple of months back. Ripped off everything, sent it all out to sandblast. Todd, you're amazing. We've got a local guy we've known forever. He does a great job. But, you know, cleaning up some of these welds and want to make it presentable so that everything you can see is good. We're going to go at the bottom here. This has obviously been dragged more than a couple times. The frame rail kind of does one of these like the Ocean. So I'm plate the bottom of the frame, fix up this, leave the body mounts for now because may actually be able to use them on the new body. Front end's going to be a lot of stock stuff because, yeah, we've got some good parts going into it. But I'm going to cue some work. Dustin and I ran out earlier today and we grabbed this. So pointed some things out to Dustin. I said I'd say it on video. So we're going to get on this in the morning when there's light. I'll show you a few things. So this is the motor and trans that he's got picked out for this truck. It's a Turbo 350. It's probably got a few good parts in it. Motor came out of another truck and apparently ran phenomenally. So I was showing Dustin last night that I was pretty sure this is actually a GM crate motor, and he wanted me to point out why. So most builders will just paint everything completely, but he asked what the first thing I saw was, and it's this paint right here, this little splash of paint. I've never seen it on anything other than the crate motor. Frost plugs look good. Tin valve covers, those are GM valve covers, and that's actually a GM performance intake. So I was showing him that I thought it was a crate motor, and then we went online and dug up some pictures from GM Performance, and wouldn't you know, the GM Performance 350 HO comes straight from GM Performance, looking just like this, with those valve covers, that distributor, the cap, the wires, the intake. The Edelbrock breather is not from them. They came with a different water neck. This one will spin, but it looks like it did come from with that carb. And down here we've got 270410. So it looks like this motor is about 15 years old, but pulling the oil fill, it looks mint inside the heads. It looks like it hasn't seen weather in 15 years because this thing basically didn't show any signs of weathering. Looks pretty mint, but that means we're actually putting a crate GM motor into this, which is cool. So it may not seem like a lot, this little AC unit, great big shop, but actually drops the temperature at least a few degrees, which is what it takes to be comfortable. And I mean, I really need a shirt in great big letters says, "I'm not a carpenter." They just notched out a couple of boards and screwed some other boards, and it doesn't look too bad from this side. Yeah, let's just judge it from the other side. All right, so first thing we did this morning is we got this axle slung into place. The great thing about this little scissor lift is we can actually move stuff around without actually, killing ourselves. So we got this slung in, taken a little time, centered it up. Within about 1/8 of an inch, it's close enough for mock-up. See, we got the bars here. This is the bag on bar setup I was talking about. Obviously, bag mounts here, bag mounts here. As you can see, that's more than 50% of the length of the link. So we're past the halfway point. Yeah, more than 50. Anyways, the reason you do this is because you're going to have a short bag with more lift. Because if you put 2 inches here, it's going to be more than 4 here, essentially. We got 8-inch stroke bags. We don't really need it, so we're kind of evaluating whether we're going to run this or put them up on the axle. Because with this bottomed out, we technically have enough room to put them up on underneath the bridge here, get them off this link, simplify this whole setup. Now, right now, we got just shy of 7 inches to the ground. We got about 20.5 here. We got about 14.5 inches radius. That'd be center line to ground. That means we're going to have about 29-inch rolling diameter, which would allow us to put this on the ground. We figured the body that's going on this is actually going to hang below the frame, unlike these trucks where they're pretty much flush. The rocker is flush to the bottom of the frame. We figure our steps are going to hang below the frame on this truck. So we may have a little bit more. We might be able to get 30, 31 inches rolling diameter, which isn't too bad. I think we're going to be doing all right. He's not looking to drag this thing everywhere, so anything more than that takes some rework up here that we're trying to avoid. The reason we use this chassis is it was already done. There are a few things that I'd like to tweak, but this is a really good start. We already know that this had an axle in it, it had a drive shaft, everything fit. we're just putting it together. So doing it like this allows me to get these bars up here, eyeball, full bump on a bag there, figure out my tabs, and I need to figure out something for the upper wishbone, which I'm not a big fan of this design, purely because this time goes straight, this one goes on an angle, there's no misalignment spacers, and as Dustin found out this morning, it's a little hard to get in there because everything is flexed, and now it doesn't even want to go into the brackets here. It essentially, oh, there it goes. Okay, we got it. So I'm going to mock that up, take a look at how it looks, and get at some other stuff. All good. Okay. look pretty lined up.
They look pretty decent right there.
There you go there. Looks pretty good here. They look parallel.
Yeah. Maybe in just a hair, so maybe both hairs there. That's better like that. Put one top on it.
Yep, we'll do the other side. Actually, forward there.
Okay, hang on, hang on. Here. Well, this can be your hand. That can dial in or
Point 3. Just a light back and forth, double check. One and one. We gotta go 3/16 over. Okay, we'll just chalk.
table.
So here's our line. We need to come to there. Yeah. First. What?
Loose.
Cover. Just like. There. That looks better.
Okay.
We look for general clearance. We got clearance there.
Double check a few measurements, make sure everything's happy, and then I'll put some good ones on that.
going to end up off center, just because it's an inch off center, but that's why I made it wide. It's touching the tube right there. How's it look that way?
Yeah, this looks decent.
I'm pretty happy there. It's resting on the sensor, so it's got to, the whole truck's got to come up here. So I'm still holding it, so. But I've got my center mark on the on the frame, so I know where center line of this joint has to be.
Should stay.
Yeah. Let's see how it looks so good. Yeah, it's going to have to go above. That's where I had it planned originally, so. That's basically dead center, right there. That'd be it.
Can we go to here at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're running better.
I got another, I'm almost hitting weld here, there's a problem.
You get clear if that turns out.
Yeah, it'll hinge straight down, we're good here. And that puts us, just a hair off center, and I can live with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I think that originally was farther back though too, it rolled up. Like I feel like
We're hitting right here.
yeah. But I feel like we had more clearance here when you mocked this up and this was rolled back more.
Frame came lower when you cut these ears off.
Yeah.
I was half an inch off the ears that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So we can lift this up a hair and roll the diff, which will probably correct that back to where I was. That might be where my measurements are
I
off.
think that's what happened.
That's fine. Let's
But do we need that depth in there, or do we like? Is this thing gonna lay frame with lifting it? But I guess it doesn't really matter.
well,
Because you had this almost up against that.
it is up against it. Points are touching. So right there, 7 inches bottom of the frame, that's what it was before. And this is 21 and a half. So that's a 43-inch tire.
God damn.
No, hold on, 21, 7 off of 21 and a half. Damn, my math's off today. I gotta subtract the 7, so 14 and a half, yeah, 29-inch tire. So we're good, and it'll lay frame on a 29. Oh,
Pretty much perfect.
that's about as bang on as you can get.
Yeah.
I'd say we're doing all right.
Oh. Send it.
Yeah, send it. You want to play it? Okay, so I'll try and give everybody a rundown of what we got going on here because there was a whole lot of work with absolutely no explanation. But I wanted a square tube truss because everything back here was square. I thought it would look cool laid out, and it just looks way cooler on the diamond because not many people do it that way. Now, the truss is offset this way because that's where the chunk is, and I didn't want to grind out the chunk. And I wanted that as narrow as possible. We're also going to tie that into those 3 bolts down there, make it a little bit stronger. Now, we got rid of those heims there because they were actually, the brackets were wider than the heim. There was no misalignment spacers. The brackets were actually hitting the body of the heim. Nothing was tight, nothing lined up. It wasn't good news. And so I wanted bushings up here. You don't need adjustment here because the problem is, if you got adjustment here and you lengthen that heim, it actually changes the distance between those 2 points, and then it doesn't fit in your brackets anyways. So this is just going to fit every time. The whole point of using this chassis was to reuse as much as possible. I wouldn't have designed this upper wishbone like this. I wouldn't have designed that cross member like that. I wouldn't have done the bag on bar like this. But now it's got heims. We're not dealing, or now it's got bushings on both ends. We've taken the adjustment out of there. We don't need it. The only adjustment there is for pinion angle, but the pinion angle pretty much does what it needs to. I want to keep it pretty flat because the drivetrain's pretty flat. You know, drive shaft angle is going to matter here. I don't know if it'll ever get this low, but if it does, it can go there, and at least it'll look good coming through the box. Now, saw the video of the forklift up here with a chain and a jack under this corner. What happened is at some point, either moving it around or when it was built or something, this whole back half was twisted. So you zeroed out, angle finder across the frame there. It was 0 there, it was 0 there, it was 0 there. It was over half a degree here. It was over a degree across here, and it was almost a degree and a half at the back, which is huge. It was visible. It was 3/4 of an inch difference side to side, which just isn't going to fly. Now, that doesn't change any of the links, but we wanted to make sure that we could move it reasonably enough and that when the box goes on, it's actually going to help hold this straight. Now, another thing most people don't realize about these trucks, it's really tough to line anything up because if you can see, now I see that frame straight and then it kicks in. These trucks, the leaves taper to the back. They're actually on an angle. So for that bushing to be relaxed, which it was always a bushing, the original hooked up, it was a plate that went on with the U-bolts and it just had 2 tabs. We're using brackets I designed, but these are on virtually the same angle as the factory leaf springs, but they are not straight. They're not parallel to each other. They actually taper front to rear, which when you're doing a link suspension, this is actually an odd way to do it. Usually you taper the fronts in as opposed to the fronts out. But we're using the brackets that we have. The bag mounts at bump look pretty parallel, and off the top of my head, I'm going to say that's about the 3.5 inches or so that a collapsed bag is. So fully collapsed, we should be good. We got lots of room for everything here. Our sway bar doesn't clear, but we're going to look at trying to get it around to the front. We want the sway bar. We may end up having to change sway bars, but this one just because of the taper of the frame. If this frame had been straight the whole length, that bar would have fit. It's not, so it doesn't. Same thing with this. We wanted to reuse this. I don't like 3/4 heims. I buy 7/8 by 3/4. They've got a bigger head and they're a 7/8 shank. So we had one kicking around, and it had high misalignment spacers, which you want on your wishbone. Otherwise, your axle can't articulate. And even in a street truck, going over speed bumps diagonally, it's important that that joint can pivot. Otherwise, it just undoes your heim. That's no good. That's 1.5 quarter wall, which happened to go over the 1-inch tube that was just threaded 3/4, and then it's welded up, hammered them on, so now it's beefier. I don't understand why somebody would go from an inch and 3/16 or so bar, and step down to 1 inch to extend it like it was before. So now it's stronger, better, and that's going to button this up for now. Basically now we can take the axle out, we can clean it up, we can weld all the brackets. The sway bar we'll have to do last, probably on the reassembly, and we're going to start taking this all apart, get this frame flipped over, and I believe the next step is to plate the bottom of the frame. We had to put weld washers here, and I had to tweak all the frame here, and you can see over here it's does one of those. So we're going to strengthen that, probably put some bracing plates in there, which will help stiffen up this chassis, and flip it over, weld everything up. We were hoping to paint tonight, but now it looks like we're going to be painting in the morning. It is ridiculously hot right now, and I don't think we're working any slower, but it's definitely more aggravating. And now it's cooled down enough we can have the door open at least. But yeah, I'm going to put the camera down and we get something to eat, and then when we come back and stare at it for a while, we're going to get all of that. Okay, so we definitely stared at it for a little while last night, and then we decided that we'd had enough of the heat, and we were done. So Dustin went out through his scrap pile, and we found a different bar. Now, this bar is great because it doesn't have the big dip below that would have cleared the pumpkin in the back. It does have a turn up in the back, and where this comes in handy, he figures this is a stock Super Easy bar. We take this bar, make sure I'm centered here. In this ballpark here, hopefully everybody can see that, the turn up on the end of the bar kind of tucks in behind the caliper there, turns up behind the frame. We can actually put the bushings, my right hand here, we can actually put them in this little pocket here, so we can make a little plate that fills in gussets here, and then we've just got like a short 4-inch link up to the axle. This is going to tuck in nice, actually clears everything pretty well, and it stays out of the way of the shocks. Now, we haven't made the shock mounts yet because we need to pull these off the axle. We need to cut the old purchase, or the original purchase off. We need to cut the sway bar mounts off. We haven't done it yet because the purchase weren't in the way, and we were hoping to use the sway bar when we mocked this up, but that just didn't pan out. So we're going to cut these off. There's going to be a shock mount that comes down, and it's going to have a series of bolt holes and a bolt-on shock mount, so we can paint the axle, get it in, and then we can deal with the actual bracket for the shocks as soon as we get shocks, because we want to set full bump, full extension, and we can fit something in there. They're just eye shocks, so we'll find something that fits. But one thing I did notice, and it's going to feel like an afterthought because sometimes it is, but I'll explain up here. Okay, so drive shaft. Now, in a perfect world, we will always want to run a one-piece drive shaft. That is the ideal situation. However, in the case of this truck, we were trying to use as much original as possible. So we wanted to use the original cross member, we wanted to use the original links, we wanted to use the original brackets. The issue with that is that, and I swear this is a mini truck thing, geometry just doesn't seem to matter. Nobody concerns themselves. As long as the axle gets on the ground and everything fits, they don't care how the truck works. Sorry if that offends anybody, but I've torn into a lot of mini trucks where the geometry is just jacked up. In this case, right, we want more well, not in this case, every case, in almost every case, you're going to find you want more separation at the axle than at the frame. You'll find them that they're parallel, you find them that they're taller at the frame than they are at the axle, or taller at the axle than they are at the frame. On this truck, the original wishbone was mounted right to the chunk with 2 tabs welded to it. The lower links were mounted right to the U-bolt plates, which were tighter to the diff. And the frame end of the wishbone was actually 2.5 inches higher. And what that created is a situation where you had more separation at the frame than there was at the axle. And the short of it is that it was going to make the driveline angles, there we go, it's early, is going to make the driveline angles do some kind of funky things. Now, this is right about full bump, give or take. We can actually get a little bit more here. The reason we lifted it up is because we threw a tube in here. We know that the output shaft, or the end of the tail shaft on the trans is about 10 inches back, out a little bit for the U-joint, which means that's going to be about the tail, or the center of the U-joint. That's about the center of the U-joint there. We can almost, it looks like we should maybe be able to fit a one-piece drive shaft. However, if to tuck the tires we want to tuck and get the truck as low as we want to get it, we have to go to a two-piece drive line. What the plan is we were talking last night about adding a flange right here, basically 2 slotted holes, and put a spot for a carrier bearing, pillow block, whatever you want to call it, so that we can run a two-piece drive line. And what that does is eliminates any concern for interference right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera how tight it is, but it's pretty tight right here. Link geometry is more important than a one-piece drive shaft. I wholeheartedly believe that. That's a decision that I will defend. Obviously, if we were building things from scratch, this is something that we would have been able to handle a little bit better. Maybe change this crossmember, move some stuff around, but using what we have, there's always going to be some sacrifice. So in this case, the sacrifice is we do not have a drive shaft anyways. I mean, this was a manual transmission truck with a GM 10 volt. It's now an automatic transmission with a Ford 8.8. We do not have the appropriate drive shaft. We've probably got some of the bits, but at the end of the day, we have to have a shaft built no matter what. It is not the end of the world if we have to go to a two-piece, but if anybody's paying attention and happens to say, well, you didn't consider it, I did consider it. We eyed it up last night. It's just that, if I have to pick priorities here, how this works is going to be a priority. We want this truck to hook up. We don't want it to be a truck that you can only drive at 30 kilometers an hour. What is that? 20 miles an hour. We want a vehicle that you can drive all the time, however you want, and use that whole 330 horse great motor. That's where we're at. We're just getting going this morning, so pretty quick. This is actually going to come apart and roll over. So we wanted to plate the bottom of the frame here, just because obviously you can look so much worse upside down. That's all mangled, so we've got some flat bar, but obviously it doesn't quite work. I was getting pretty sick trying to twist stuff into shape on the top with a pipe wrench or a crescent wrench because it just wasn't deep enough and the angles weren't right. So, frame straightening tool, which should speed this up quite a bit. I'll just pull all this straight and then Dustin's gonna basically stitch this on, and I think the frame, other than a patch and some cleanup, is basically ready to go. Well, there we go. I mean, that's an hour sped up to, I don't know, whatever I speed it up to. That is an hour to paint the frame. This is now one of the only times I'll say Ford got it right. You have any color as long as it's black. So, oh, hold on, I'll show you something. So, I can't see the label. We managed to paint over it. This is like PPG speed enamel. And we got Lordco Auto Parts here. And they mixed it up. But this stuff comes ready to spray. I guess it's reduced, it's got hardener. This would be perfect for a spray gun, but we just didn't feel like masking off the whole shop. Spraying makes a mess. And we thought that, paint might be a little thicker. This stuff is tough to brush on. But, like, seriously, by the time we got to the back, or by the time we got halfway, this was dry to the touch up here. You can handle this. It says second coat in like 4 hours or something. Obviously, we can't bake it, but it needs a second coat. But I think we're going to give it a couple hours, do a second coat, and then I don't know. I don't know if we'll get to them tonight or tomorrow morning. We got to start painting all the suspension stuff, get it ready to go together. This is just a big push because we wanted it painted last night. We didn't get it painted last night, so we're kind of a day behind. And we both got places to be this weekend, so it's I don't even know what's happening next. You'll find out in a second here. Well, there we go. This is where I'm ending this video. At this point, I think I've been out here for, I don't know, a little over 13 hours. Dustin's been out here about the same. It's been a really long day. It's hot. We're tired. But I got a second coat of paint on the chassis. I've started editing this video and realized that it's already about an hour, and I'm not going to drag it out. So you guys get to see part 2 a week later. And I'm just going to keep filming whenever we're working here. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. You enjoy what I'm doing, follow the channel, click the notification bell, drop me a comment down below, tell me what you think, do the whole YouTube thing. You guys commenting helps the algorithms. As soon as I figure out what time I gotta post videos, because apparently if you post it on a Sunday night, you get no views, but if you post it Sunday morning, you get all kinds of views. And this is all beyond me. I just want to build cars. So thanks for tuning in this long if you made it to the end, and see you on the next one. Wait. The title says 59 Apache. I haven't shown you guys anything yet. I mean, this frame, this is like a 97 1500 Silverado 2-wheel drive. This is, this truck, when it was torn apart, was 99 2000 mini truck, and at its finest, 99 1500 with an Escalade front clip on the ground. Nobody cares what's underneath as long as it's dragging the rockers and it's got Cadillac Escalade tail, whatever. It doesn't matter, because the cool part is the body that's going on this frame, and that is right here. It's got to be here by now. Right there. This is super awesome. He's had this body for a while. He wanted to do something cool with it. The idea was to put it on a frame that could just get him going. And he had access to this. It's got, most of the stuff he needed. It was airbag, but it was airbag poorly. We've cleaned up a whole lot of it. We've got, full digital AccuAir, maybe? I can't remember. I think it's even got the height sensors instead of the pressure sensors. We got them a really good kit, so it'll be all digital. Push a button, it airs out on the ground, and you can drive it around and take the wife to dinner. You know, it'll be pretty. It's a super cool kit, high tech. So yeah, that body's going to be going on, and it's going to be awesome. And just figured I'd get that in there because, yeah, it's been a really long day, and I just realized I was getting ready to upload the video that I haven't even showed the coolest part, and it's pretty cool. So I'll tell you what, now I'm really saying goodbye, and thank you, because there's going to be a bunch of people that missed this part at the very end, or you skipped the whole video and came right to the end. So do me a favor, though. If you watch this all the way to the end, go check out the video I posted last week of the final clips I had from the Power Wagon with the Cummins. I pieced together a bunch of stuff, and everybody said they wanted to see it. I had a bunch of people commenting, you know, we don't want to watch you not finish another video, and where's the updates? And you know, we take it for a drive. Hurts my ego, guys. Go check it out if you see this, because post this it was a super cool truck. I am so proud of the sheet metal in that truck. It came out beautifully. Like, it looks like it's factory. Go check it out. Go check out all my other videos, because why not? When I hurt my back, I messed up all the algorithms. I messed up all the YouTube stuff. They demonetized the account because I hadn't been posting. And it's fair. And I'm trying to get back there, because why not? Post all these videos. But yeah. Check out the Power Wagon. Bump up the numbers. Comment below. Do the YouTube thing. I've said it 2-3 times in this video. You guys rock. I am exhausted. It is time to close this door, shut off the lights, call it a night, and now I really will see you on the next one.